How to cheat at poetry slams. How can you cheat at a poetry slam? Yes, I hear you asking. You at the back, in a suspiciously interested way. Well, sorry, but if you're a contestant, you can't really cheat. Well, not unless you plagiarise someone. And even then, well, you may get away with using someone else's joke. A whole poem's too much of a risk. You'd be scorned as an absolute berk if people sussed you. Despite this peril, plagiarism does happen though. An older poet once showed me a piece he had written. I said, wow, that's very good. As in, it's a lot better than your usual crap. Some days, he let me into his secret. It just all falls together. I found his poem verbatim in a book of classic American folk songs a few weeks later. But in slams, it's not the poets who cheat. It's the judges. Yes, they do. Who knew?
What's that? Gordon Powley, 88 points.
So, how do they go about it? Well, put simply, they suddenly alter the marking criteria. That's how they cheat. Look, imagine a slam. Things are ticking along. A judge is marking poets with either a 7, an 8, or a 9. For them to give a 6, the offering would have to be dire. At 10, they're saving for something exceptional. This is the usual sort of spread with which slam judges operate. Then, they give a poet 2 points. Just 2. By reason reckoning, this means that the judge is saying that the poem they have heard is exactly a third as good as some other gruesome tosh to which they gave a 6. It doesn't add up. If something is horribly worse, the natural response is to give it a 5. Or if it's offensively foul, 4. Not 2. It doesn't make sense to give a poet 2 points. But it happens all the time. I've seen Chris Young cut off at the knees by a judge doing this to him, and Jenny Lindsay and Matt McDonald, and there's no way back for the contestant once it's been done. 2 points, they're out, gone. I can only assume it's personal. It's definitely not that the judge has suddenly spotted that the poetry quality has dived through the floor. It has not. It's sheer personal dislike. And to me, well, it's disappointing too. To adjudicate at these events, I try to pick folks I think will be pretty fair-minded, and then they turn up and take out their own petty vendettas.
What's that?
I did say I've seen a number of these instances. Well, I have, but not in real time. If I'm comparing a slam, I pick the judges and let them get on with it. As the evening progresses, I get handed the paper with the marks they have given, and I duly read them out. I don't interfere, and I don't have time to do much interpretation either. If a front runner inexplicably falls at the last though, or some wonky donkey romps to the line, I may check over the sheets the next day and see what's happened. And there it is. One of the judges has awarded a 2. It puts me in a funny position. I mean, we can't go back and have a rerun of a poetry slam. In the grand scheme of things, they're not that important. But I now have to go around with the knowledge that my judges, many of whom are people who would like to be thought of as good and moral, I'm sure some even consider themselves nice. These people are prepared to do down poor, defenceless poets for reasons only they can know. The fact that they've also indulged their spite without realising I've got their marks on paper and we'll see exactly what they've been up to, also shows me we are not dealing with dudes of supreme Machiavellian cunning. What to do about it? Well, many slams are run on the method in which 5 judges are deployed and the highest and lowest scores they give are chalked off, leaving the 3 middle ones as the counting marks. But this only works if all 5 have the same mean, the same average, and an extremely tight calibration. For instance, if your average mark is 8, and you think something is great, you might give it a 9. But you're sitting next to some daffy dolt who thinks all the poetry is fantastic, is spunking 10s like there's no tomorrow. So with this method, Daffy is going to make no contribution to the outcome and might as well go home. And the same applies to the more sober judge, who gives standard stuff a 7. He's making no impact either. With this format, it's only the timid judge who counts.
Please keep going along.
There's also the problem that not all people in the poetry world are gifted at arithmetic. At a Radio 4 slam in Edinburgh many years ago, the marks were read out and totted up. Incorrectly, I'm sorry to say. And when the triumphant poet was declared, I had the true winner standing beside me, counting his fingers, saying, "Did I not win? I thought I won. I thought he'd won too." Then it gets darker. Yes. Then there's the outright fiddling of the figures. The Edinburgh Uni Literary Society ran some excellent big slams at the Pleasance for a few years. Crowds of 200 in, slammers trucking down from all parts of Scotland to have a go. I had a bash in a couple of these and I compared a few more. Then one student, announcing himself as a bit of a maths whiz, offered his services as scorekeeper. And the organisers, keen to get the keen involved, allowed him to get on with it. At a slam contest, while it is mainly all down to the judges, there is a guideline that the poet should be given points for audience reaction. So, if nothing is heard on completion of their piece but the blue north wind stirring sadly in the tumbleweed, they shouldn't get a very high mark. On the other hand, if the audience go apeshit and howl in joy like baboons at the moon, well, that'll be a 9 then, wouldn't it? Doesn't quite work like that though. It's extremely hard as the fervour builds throughout the event for the judges to remain unswayed by the audience's obvious preferences. Popular poets get minute-long standing ovations topped with whippings and whistles. It's tricky to resist. And judges with an easy-going sort of people-pleaser personality wind up acting as funnels for the crowd. Even curmudgeons tend to bend to the breeze. So, as someone who's been to a hell of a lot of these nights, I've gained a sense of who should be scoring towards the top, and when they don't, I dig a little deeper. At the Lit Sock Slam I mentioned earlier, we had a couple of contestants rocking the room in the first section, progressing fine, smashing their acts in the second round and standing, in my opinion, as odds-on certs to make the final. Then, they disappeared off the radar, finished 7th and 8th, out of the game in the second heat. The title was carried that night by a girl who had brought a round dozen of her muckers along to support her, and their choreographed enthusiasm probably meant she couldn't have been beaten by anyone. But the curious failure of the two who appeared to almost match her led me to check the marking sheets the next day. Our maths whiz student had docked them each 10 points at the end of the second round. I mean, the correct scores they had received, he'd written down and added up, then scratched them out and replaced them with lesser figures. Why? Well, you need to ask him. Poetry can be a poisonous swamp. Though I did make sure that we dispense with his services for good. This has been an excerpt from my book, Please Don't Punch the Poets by Robin Cairns. It's a story of my adventures in the poetry world in Scotland, England and Europe over the last 25 years. It's available on Amazon Kindle. Please don't punch the poets. If you would like to buy the real thing, contact me on robin.cairns@btconnect.com and we'll post one to you. Thank you.